Hi. I decided to record this because I had a conversation with a relative of mine yesterday who was so scared of going on Escape from Gringotts at Universal, which is a kind of hybrid dark ride family roller coaster. He was so afraid that they had to shut the ride down, release him from the restraints. Sometimes they'll do that. I think it's because they're scared that you will injure yourself or you'll try and escape from the ride. So he said, why did you want to deal with this phobia and how? So I'm not really recording this for his benefit. I'm not sure if you'd ever get to see this, but I thought, because I've got over it quite recently, and I know that humans have a very bad memory for things like fear and things like pain, that I thought if I got it down, I might be able to refer back to this and go, oh yeah, that's how it felt to be scared of this. And I don't know, maybe it will help me be more empathetic to people because I will be able to remind myself of how it felt. Anyway, so fear of roller coasters is a genuine phobia. I had a genuine phobia. I didn't even realise it was a phobia for quite a long time. And its technical name is, I will try and pronounce this, I have practiced, it's Rollercoasters, I think. And obviously it's thought to originate both from a primal fear of falling, because evolutionarily speaking we evolved from creatures who tried their best not to fall out of trees, and things like parental influences, adverse childhood experiences. So if you had parents who, like mine, who said, oh no, don't go on roller coasters, they're very, very dangerous, that kind of thing, we don't do that kind of thing, you may grow up with a phobia. It's the same as with fear of spiders. You know, if your parents or a close family relative were scared of spiders, you may well pick that up, even though the actual risk from a spider is very small. You nevertheless have this fear, and obviously a phobia is perhaps a disproportionate fear or a incapacitating fear of something that maybe doesn't pose that much of a risk in reality. But all the way through this, I don't ever want to dismiss the fact that phobias are real. Phobias absolutely exist. They can be crippling, they can be disabling, and it's not just all in your head. They sometimes need treating and dealing with. Sometimes you can live with them, but if I sound like I'm trivialising phobias, I really, really don't want to. And I know they can be extremely serious. So the first question that Tim asked me was, why did you want to get rid of this? Why did you want to deal with this phobia? But I thought more sensibly, I would go into how this fear actually manifested in me, because when I go online, when I look on Reddit, this kind of thing seems to be very, very common. And if you've ever seen Tom Scott's video about how he got over his phobia of roller coasters, that's when I realised that I had the same thing, and that was exactly my experience. And the number one thing people talk about is a pain. And for me, the pain was on a drop. And I can describe it as just feeling like there was being a hole clawed into my insides. Absolutely unbearable, agonising pain. And obviously, the more you think about it, the worse it gets. Now, I have seen online that some people report they get this pain on a lift hill, so going up, it hurts. And I experienced it on the when you get pulled up on Tower of Terror. The first time on Tower of Terror, I felt it going up as well as going down, which was when my brain went, oh, this probably isn't physiological, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So lots of people report a pain. Some people, like my relative, just sweating, screaming, can't even get on the ride. He said he was in the queue for 2 hours, got in, sat down, put the restraint down, and he was like, absolutely not, I can't do this, I can't do this. So it can manifest differently in different people, and for me it was a pain. But for the longest time I thought this pain was like a physiological thing, like Tom Scott. Like it was physiological, like it was just kind of a physical quirk, oh, I can't go on a roller coaster because it hurts. And people would say, no, it doesn't. And I would say, no, it does. For me, physically, it hurts me. And interestingly, my father told me the same thing. Oh, I can't go on roller coasters because it hurts. I know now as Tom Scott learned, that pain that you feel that's fear. It's your body seizing up, and it's fear. It's the same thing as butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous, when you're afraid. Your body is telling you something's very, very dangerous here, and I don't know, freaking out. I guess there's a lot of adrenaline going through your body, a lot of stress hormones, and that's how it manifests in this pain. And I now understand that you don't have to feel it. That pain is optional, and what you can do instead is really enjoy them and become an absolute crushing bore about roller coasters, but I do try and keep that to myself. So that's how I experienced the phobia, and because I didn't have that stereotypical sweating, panicking, crying thing that my relative Tim had, I thought it wasn't a phobia, and I thought, oh, it's just a physiological thing. And as I say, when I saw Tom Scott, I went, oh, right, I understand now. So that was how I experienced the phobia, and how I came to understand that that's what it was. So yeah, it's people are obviously afraid. Roller coasters are designed to play with your sense of fear. That's part of the enjoyment of it. It's the same thing as a horror movie, where it's scary and people enjoy it. And obviously there are some people, myself included, I really don't like horror movies, but it's not because I find them scary, it's more because I find them unpleasant. But humans like being scared, and that the roller coaster plays with your sense of, oh no, I am about to fall down this massive drop, but also I am completely safe and this is really cool. So you're always on that emotionally, you're always on that border between exhilaration and terror. Well, you are if it's a good roller coaster, otherwise you're just very uncomfortable and your ears are being bashed back and forth. If you've been on Indiana Jones in Disneyland Paris, you'll understand. So why I wanted to deal with it is quite interesting. I started watching a lot of videos about theme parks in about 2022. I don't know why, just something popped into my YouTube feed. I watched it and I started getting really interested in how theme parks work, the history of them. And also I started watching roller coaster videos about how they're built, how they're designed, and started to find it really fascinating. And then I thought I would love to ride these, but obviously I can't because, there's this physical problem that I have. But I started to understand, especially after, again, that Tom Scott video for me was just life-changing in a very small way. And I realised that if I wanted to ride these coasters and experience these things, because it looked really exciting, it looked amazing, and I really wanted to get over it, especially my first coaster I really, really wanted to ride was Nemesis. And I told my husband that I could feel that every time I thought about going on Nemesis, even though I was clearly very apprehensive, like my fingers were tingling. Like it was calling me, which is kind of weird. So I decided what I needed to do was, well, the advice, what you need to do is, then there isn't any shortcut to this. You need to ride roller coasters. You need to get on them and ride them quite a few times, and you can't just stick with the little baby family coasters. You have to ramp yourself up. So I started going to Chessington, which is very close to me. It's my home park, as people say. And Vampire is such a great ride. So I started going on Vampire a lot and just gradually moved myself up. So I went on Dragon's Fury, which is the spinning coaster. It's the same as Crush's Coaster in Disneyland Paris. And it took me a while to move up to Mandrill Mayhem, which is their newest coaster, their B&M wing coaster, because the Scorpion Tail, so when you launch out of Mandrill Mayhem, you actually launch, no spoilers, this is a spoiler, so, so you launch backwards up this sort of curved thing. It's called a Scorpion Tail, and then the coaster lets you go, and you go back through the loading station, and then you're launched into the rest of the ride. and watching that scorpion tail just scared the absolute crap out of me for some reason. But I actually went to Chessington with a friend of mine, not a family member, and he was just, no, we are going on this ride now. I'm not going to take any of your nonsense. So he just like plopped me on the, he's a big guy, plopped me on the seat, put the restraint down, like, there you go, shut up, which worked really well. And I just went straight back on that ride again. So that was how I initially started to deal with it, was simply going to theme parks, going on roller coasters and building myself up. But I did make a couple of mistakes in this whole thing. I went to Disney World, which is amazing, and I was very apprehensive about going on Tron of all things, which, yeah, I know it sounds silly now, but I also chickened out of going on Expedition Everest. This was last August 2024. And I chickened out of Expedition Everest and nearly chickened out of Tron. And my first ride around Tron, I just closed my eyes and just concentrated on my breathing, you know, yogi style, and got through the ride. But at the end of it, my husband, my daughter, everyone else was talking about how great it was, and I realised all I'd done was endured it. And I mentioned this to Tim, saying that there was a difference, I think, between learning to endure a ride, which you can do. You can close your eyes, you can focus on something else, and you can just get through it, because most coasters only last a couple of minutes, and you know, you can close your eyes and go la 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 for 2 minutes if you have to. But there's a big difference between doing that and actually enjoying it. And that was my next step. So the next time I went on Tron, I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to open my eyes and look at where I'm going. And that made a huge difference. The other ride there that really changed my view of coasters was Cosmic Rewind, which is a fantastic ride. Again, it's more of a family coaster. It's not particularly extreme, but it is exhilarating. A very wonderful ride. If you ever get the opportunity, if you're ever as lucky as I was to go to Disney World, definitely go on it. It's fantastic. So when I came back, I then went to Alton Towers a few months later, and I did go on Nemesis, and I chickened out of Oblivion, and I chickened out of the Smiler for different reasons, really. I used to work for a law firm. We did health and safety law, and we actually were instructed by Merlin on the Smiler. So I got to see a lot of the medical stuff, the witness statements, and that didn't help. When I went, I thought, oh, I'm going to ride the Smiler, and I looked at it and I just remembered everything that happened, which is stupid because it was 10 years ago, and I know better than most people how that accident happened, and I know it could never happen again, which is silly. So I'm going back to Alton Towers in a couple of weeks. I will go on the Smiler. So that's how I dealt with it, is forcing myself on rides, and honestly, truly, there isn't anything else you can do. You can watch as many POVs as you want, but it's such a different experience when you actually ride them compared to, say, watching Voltron, a POV on VR goggles. Just makes me want to be sick. Riding it in real life is wonderful. It's actually a wonderful experience. I'll stop fidgeting. So the one thing I also wanted to cover was bad ideas, as in things that are ill-advised if you are trying to get over a fear of coasters. So yes, closing your eyes, just trying to like go la 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 and ignore it isn't going to help. It will assist you in getting through a ride. So if you're the kind of person, your kids are bullying you onto a ride, you just want to shut them up and get over it, yeah, I guess it's fine. If you want to enjoy the experience, I do not recommend it at all, because you are never going to deal with a fear. You are just trying to put your attention elsewhere. The other thing I think is a terrible idea, and I see people do this on Reddit all the time, they pop up on various groups connected to theme parks and roller coasters, and they want to know everything about specific angles, heights, drop speeds, and I know what they're doing because I did the same thing, which is thinking that it is something specific about the angle of a coaster or the speed of a coaster or some element within it that will set off that pain. I know now that it's nothing to do with that. If you want to, you can feel that on a little mine train. You know, you can feel that on a dark ride. and I see people ask these questions. They go, oh, what's the exact drop height of the second drop on Vampire at Chessington? There was one particular person who kept asking the same question over again. Or how fast is it, and what are the angles? And some people will try and be so helpful and say, oh, well, it's about this many degrees and it goes about 40 miles an hour. And he just kept asking the same things. And eventually I said to him, look, I know what you're doing. I did the same thing. You think that if this ride meets your criteria, it won't set you off. And the answer is, any ride can set you off. You just need to ride it a few times and you will be fine. So that's the one thing I would say is a complete waste of your time. It is nothing to do with the elements of the ride. They are not what is causing the discomfort. What's causing the discomfort is your fear, and you will only deal with that by going on rides. I mean, for example, I nearly got that sensation going on Flight of Passage at Disney World, which has no drops at all. It's a flying theatre. It's a complete simulation. So it just goes to show it has nothing to do with drops and speed and angles or anything like that. And also things like, as I've said about being scared of the scorpion tail mandrill mayhem, focusing on a specific element, going, oh, I could do this, but I could do the smiler, but I'm just scared of the vertical lift hill, and I'm scared about how that's going to feel. And yeah, these things are put into, I know the vertical lift and the smiler was because it's space constraints, but they put these features in to increase the coaster's appeal and make it cool and make it exciting, or give them names like Intimidator, Traumatizer, Magnum XL 5000, which sounds like a condom brand, for being honest. It's just trying to make it sound cool, but it doesn't help if you're afraid of coasters, because you look at this thing and it's called the Intimidator. I know why it's called the Intimidator, but you look at it and go, oh, I'm not going on that, it's called the Intimidator. It doesn't help, but in that case I can only really suggest that you just work your way up. That you try, like things like the scorpion tail, actually the sensation is very similar to something like a pirate ship ride. So if you're scared of the scorpion tail on Mandrill Mayhem, go on Blue Barnacle, the pirate ship ride there. You'll feel the same sensations, you can get used to it, you'll be fine eventually. And also the other mistake is to just stick with, okay, I can ride Big Thunder Mountain. I'm not going to ride anything scarier than Big Thunder Mountain. I'm going to just stick with Big Thunder Mountain the rest of my life. You can do that, but if you enjoyed Big Thunder Mountain, imagine how much more you're going to enjoy a ride like, let's think of a cool one. I'm going to be controversial and say Silver Star, which is a hypercoaster in Europa Park. It's about 70 metres tall, something like that. That's also a really cool ride, and if you like Big Thunder Mountain, well, I appreciate it's a lot taller, but it is also really fun. And I feel like if you can cope up to a certain level, it's definitely worth your while to try and get out of that comfort zone. Not say, I'm going to go to Chessington, I'm going to ride Vampire 7 times and not go on any other rides all day because I'm too scared. You know what? Try something else. Give it a go, because just say, okay, this much and no further. No, what the hell? Even if you hate it, it's only about a minute and a half. Right, sorry, I had such an itchy nose. I had to pause everything and really scratch my nose. They're really itchy. The hay fever is very bad today. So I've talked about what coaster phobia is, why you might want to get over it, how you can get over it, and I just wanted to chat briefly about what my favourite coasters are right now. So currently in the UK, my favourite coasters are Minifigure Speedway at Legoland Windsor, Vampire at Chessington, because I rode that many years ago and I remember at the time that was the only coaster that had never set me off, that I just actively enjoyed, and I rode it several times, and then that was always at the back of my mind going, I did enjoy that one, maybe I should go back on that one, and that I think really helped actually. The other one is obviously Nemesis is totally my favourite thing in the whole world. I love that ride. I love the creature. I love the theming and the stories around it. I think it's just absolutely wonderful. Cosmic Rewind is fantastic. It's great fun, very silly ride. Big Thunder Mountain, and in Europa Park, I really did enjoy Blue Fire. That made such a big difference to me, knowing that that big scary ride was just wonderful. I spent the whole time laughing. Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach is a lovely, smooth, very, very fun ride. Honestly, if I were with somebody who was a bit apprehensive and scared of going on any rides, I would take them on Icon. They don't, because the restraints are also nice lap bars. It's really, really smooth. It's just very fun. Every time if you're at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and you see people going overhead on Icon, they're not screaming, they are laughing, because it just is so joyful. So that was it. I think that's where I would take someone if they go, oh, I would like to go on a coaster, but I'm scared and if it goes upside down. I'd put them on that, and then if I didn't like them very much, I'd put them on Infusion, which is not my favourite ride. In fact, I haven't been on it because I got mad with the guy running the operations, long story. So those are my favourite rides at the moment. I'm going to Thorpe Park next week. So my list may change. I may have something, because I'm going to go in Hyperia, and we'll see whether or not that supplants Voltron in my heart. We will see about that. And I would also say, look, I'm not a teenage boy. Just because you're a bit older, you're like middle-aged, you think, oh well, I'll just hold the bags and let other people go on the rides. And I feel like, you know what, there's lockers for that. Give it a go, because even if you hate it, it's 2 minutes out of your life, and if you love it, you know what, you get a new passion, you get something you really enjoy, and I think that's absolutely worth the time and the effort that I had to put in to deal with this phobia. Is it right for everybody? No. If this doesn't bother you, why are you even watching a video about dealing with coastophobia? Why are you even watching this? It is wobbly. It's wobbly. I'm so good at this. Yeah, that's all really I wanted to say about it. If you've got any other questions about coastophobia, put them in the comments. The other thing I would like to just highlight is I do appreciate that going to theme parks it can be kind of an expensive thing. If you are lucky enough to live close to a local one, that's great. I would 100% recommend something like an annual pass, even if it's the basic one. You can go every now and then, and it works out very quickly and much cheaper than visiting on a regular basis. And I also feel like it's a bit like gym membership. You've paid, so you really have to go and get your money's worth. And even things like local fairgrounds, sometimes they have things like portable coasters. They sometimes have wild mouse coasters, which are also good for getting yourself into rides. The other thing is, if nothing else, things like pirate ship rides, a lot of the sensations on a pirate ship are kind of similar to roller coasters. So also, if you feel like, I would like to get over this, but I just can't get to a roller coaster, but there's a local fairground, look, if they've got a pirate ship ride, or the other thing is this sort of platform thing that goes like this, that's called a Miami, that also may help you get over some of the pain and the fear you have surrounding the sensations you get on a roller coaster. So hopefully that's something of a starting point, and that's all I have to say. So again, if you have any questions about this, any comments, you think I'm insane, why would I even bother, then fine. If you want to share your opinion about what I've decided to do with my time, then you're more than welcome to do that. And so please admire Red here. There she is. I like her. I think that Disney World and Disney are completely entitled to change their rides to reflect the times. Oh, actually, I remembered now. There is one other reason why I wore this shirt, which is some people say, particularly the drop on Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland Paris, there are 2 drops. They are quite big and they are much bigger than the ones at Disney World. One of the metrics I've noticed of people who are afraid of coasters is they will say that drop on Pirates of the Caribbean scared the absolute crap out of me. And that is the level I was at in about 2023. So I've gone from somebody who was kind of a bit apprehensive and really had to be bullied on Pirates of the Caribbean, a boat ride for babies. So I've gone in 18 months. I have gone from that person to this person. So it's very possible. If you want to do it and you've got the time and you've got the resources, then yeah, you can do it too. And that's all I have to say. I hope that was inspirational.